Well, hello there. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm trying out a new thing called I don't want to make a post or reply on Reddit about a topic that's bugging me, so instead I will have a video discussion about it, which is a lot more effort. I don't know either, man. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about some discussion around my new obsession, Arc Raiders. As someone who has shied away from extraction shooters for years, this game feels amazing to me. And funny enough, it's not even necessarily the extraction shooter part. It's the fact that, much like Forrest Gump's mama always said, each raid is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Now, for the rest of the video, I'll be talking pretty much exclusively about solo play in this game, because I do have a handful of friends to play with, and I've done so for roughly about 50% of my time with the game. But as any raider will tell you, when you queue up with one or two friends, the vibe is very different from solo play. Squads is a lot closer to what I thought the extraction formula was going to be for me. You search some boxes with buddies, get into firefights with the Arcs and other squads, then you get out with your pockets full of delicious, yummy scrap. Don't get me wrong, I still love the squad play in this game, and even if this game forced you to play with squads, I would still be mainlining this game extremely hard. But from here on out, I want to discuss the solo experience because to me, that part of this game is infinitely more interesting to talk about, and unfortunately has also bred a lot of contention within the community on what our collective quote-unquote expectations should be for solo queue. For those unfamiliar, people in solo queue tend to be a lot more amicable toward each other, and I learned why this is the case after literally my first solo queue match that I ever played in Arc Raiders. So let me paint you a picture. I dropped into Dam Battlegrounds in the swamp area. I was still pretty early on in my time with the game, and I was looking to do a quest to pop open an Arc probe. So I wandered around the swamp for maybe about 2 minutes before I heard the ever-reliable ba-doop, bing sound, signifying that my target was nearby. I find the probe, slam my hammer into it, but about halfway through, I suddenly hear a snitch overhead spotting me. I try my best to take it down, but I'm too slow to do so. He calls in backup, coincidentally right as another squad of wasps swings by, and I'm overwhelmed in a matter of seconds. I retreat into a building nearby, but it's just not enough. The bots keep flying in, and before long, I'm down for the count. I bleed out and die, and I lose all of my gear. Did you notice how I never once ran into another player throughout that entire match experience? Now, to me, the most important lesson I took away from this moment was, Jesus, man, the AI does not mess around in this game. If I was in a squad with my friends, I would have had full confidence that I would have demolished that encounter. Having somebody to watch your back and work with you increases your odds of survival by a significant margin. This is probably the biggest reason why people tend to gravitate toward being more friendly in this game. It just makes the most logistical sense to have another gun on your side, ensuring that you both get back home safely with your advanced mechanical components and magnets safely tucked away in your pockets. So at this point, sometimes to the detriment of all of my gear, my natural instinct in solo queue is to trust people unquestionably. Does it lead to more betrayals and deaths? Absolutely. But 9 times out of 10, even me just approaching someone and whipping out the old reliable, hey, friendly, we're chill, and then seeing the other person hop on their mic to respond in kind, or hit the ever-reliable, don't shoot emote, immediately makes the situation way less tense, and honestly kind of magical. Neither one of us is under any kind of social obligation or gameplay restriction where we couldn't just open fire and to the victor go the spoils. We instead choose, in that moment, to do what we believe is the right thing to do. So now that all of that preamble is out of the way, it does conveniently lead to the main topic I wanted to discuss today. The constant battle of solo queue should be PvE with nice people versus solo queue is too nice, people need to fight more. So let's break down the main arguments for each side, and by all means, please post your perspectives respectfully, I hope, down in the comments as well. I'm always curious to see where people's minds go when discussing these kinds of topics. So let's start with solo queue is about PvE and cooperation between strangers. I get where people are coming from with this take, and truthfully, that nature was a big reason I followed the game so hard for the months leading up to launch. Because the trailers always showed off these cool, massive robots for players to take down, but not reliably enough with just 3 people, the game was subtly telling its audience, listen, this game has full PvP enabled, but some of these encounters are made significantly easier if you work together cooperatively with other squads. But there is no group size larger than 3, so you need to run into other players that are amenable to sharing the spoils of victory with you, and that's inherently a really cool system. While that is a very compelling reason to work together in solo queue, it is important to remember that this is the core of why it's compelling. You are under no obligation to be nice and work cooperatively. It's a choice that you are actively making. I've seen some crazy takes where people say, there should be private or PvE only servers, or there should be a bounty system if someone betrays you, which I guarantee is coming from people who don't think about long-term repercussions and ramifications, probably addicted to short-form video content, just like me. See, the problem with adding more systems in place that limit these interactions means the interactions become significantly less meaningful. So you load into a PvE server, right? And every match you play will play out exactly the same. No one can hurt each other, so all you do is just run into 5 other people, you all work together, demolish anything that stands in your way, come out with your pockets loaded to the brim, then head home. Very little tension and very low stakes. You may as well have been playing the game on creative mode with cheats enabled at that point. And for what? You play PvE exclusively, regularly taking out the Queen and Harvester events and get the best weapons in the game? Cool, awesome. Now what? You probably complain about not having enough stash size for your legendary weapons and epic materials, then you quit the game. The experience meant nothing because that's what's expected in a PvE server. You met the expectations. And I am going to sound a little harsh with this next statement, but for the people I've seen asking about a bounty system to be implemented for people who betray them, I only have one thing to say to you. Respectfully, grow up. And I say that as someone who has been betrayed multiple times. I've run into people in solo queue that are down to cooperate, but the moment I turn my back or I call the elevator, they gun me down and take all of my stuff. And you know what? That's completely fair and fine. That's the tension that you need in these kind of games. You don't know who to trust, and it makes it all the more meaningful when you do extract with a complete stranger who was chill the whole time. You know they did it because they wanted to. So imagine now we live in a world where you run into Hornet Lover 69, but plastered above his head, it says, Wanted Trader, 10k credit reward. You now inherently don't trust this person and are super likely to just gun them down for the reward money. And more than any other logical reason, you know and I know that if they did decide to implement a bounty system for betrayers, no matter how airtight it might seem, there would be videos by the dozens within moments of its implementation about, here's how you abuse the bounty system and can brand anyone a traitor. Now, innocent players are having bounties put on their heads, and complaints run amok, and people get exactly what they asked for. The inherent randomness and openness to every encounter is what makes this game special. Sometimes you run into angels, sometimes it's demons, but both interactions are what makes the game feel genuine, and people don't realize that. I get that it's frustrating to be betrayed. I have been a jolly cooperator since my days in Dark Souls 3. I love helping people out and supporting them. It makes for much better stories. But we need rats too. We need those people that say, don't shoot, and then open fire. Do these people suck? Yeah, they do. Are they scumbags? Yeah, absolutely they are. But their existence reminds us that there are no rules out in the Rust Belt. So being a good person is all the more special. Alright, so now that the PvE people have been thoroughly lashed, it's time to address the other take. People are too nice. This is an extraction shooter. You shouldn't trust anyone and open fire the moment you see them. Hey, so listen. I'm talking directly to the people who have this take. I'm sorry that you don't know how to feel genuine joy in your life and that you're scared to talk to people on the internet. but your take is trash. And truthfully, if you want to play the more traditional extraction formula where PvP is expected, you have options. Hunt Showdown, Tarkov, Arena Breakout. These are all games that don't promote cooperation outside of very niche scenarios. So the experience is a lot more of the traditional your squad versus the world kind of experience. They're all great games for their own reasons, but I want to loop back to why the just open fire, no cooperation doesn't make sense. At the time of writing, I have seen a squad of 3 people take out the Queen. It is doable, but each squad member threw like 15 wolf packs and went through about 20 hull cracker rounds before she finally toppled over. Is it cool that this can be done? Yeah, it is. It shows a level of resource management that is unparalleled to most people. But again, I loop back to this point. Most people don't know how to craft wolfpack grenades. You have to find them naturally. And after about 40 hours with the game that I have, I've personally accumulated about 15 wolfpacks total. So imagine a scenario where I convince 2 of my other friends to try the same stunt and take down the Queen. So we load in with our amassed wealth, but on the way, we're intercepted by another squad and they take us down. We just lost our only realistic chance to take out the Queen as a squad of 3, and mathematically speaking, it's going to be another 40 hours until we can even think of attempting it again. I would personally rather live in a world where I can load into the game, convince 5 other players to join me in taking down the Queen, we successfully do it, than I am betrayed by someone who wants all the loot for themselves and I die. I'm sure that's happened to a number of players already. It's an awful feeling, but people really like to shove that worst case scenario to the front and act like it's the norm. It really isn't. I've seen a growing sentiment lately that it's too late, people in solo are already getting sweaty, the cooperation is gone. And all I have to say to that notion is that even yesterday, I've still been playing in scenarios where I run with people all the way to extraction and we all leave together. Or even mid-shootout with other players, I'll just tell them, hey look, we don't need to do this, you just snuck up on me and I shot, I'm sorry. And then we both put our weapons away and become the new best friends for the next 15 minutes. You know, people always talk about which weapon is the true S tier in this game, but nobody actually puts the true best option at the top, your push-to-talk key. And for those of you that hate the idea of running into traitors or thinking this game should just be full PvP all the time, you are allowed to play the game however you want. I just think you're continually robbing yourself of some of the best gaming experiences you can possibly have. You're so concerned about safety and integrity and making sure you get out with all of your loot that you miss out on the real best thing you can extract with, an amazing memory. I'd like to close out this kind of ranty discussion with one of my favorite symbols, the yin and yang. Most people just see it as a cool black and white swirl with little dots in it and think it's about balance or something. And they're half right, so even if you hate this video and my takes, walk away with a new piece of knowledge today. The black and white in the symbol does symbolize dichotomy in life, and the most obvious example is good versus evil, right? But the reason why each side has little dots of the opposite color in it is because the symbol recognizes that there can be evil within goodness, but there is also goodness within evil. People are allowed to work with you for a whole match and then gun you down as they call the elevator. But on the same token, you can run into friendly squads and then absolutely scorch earth the map as a small army. Recognize that Arc Raiders shows us the reality of what it's like to interact with people. Are there scumbags out there? Yeah, absolutely. But they make those interactions with good people all the more meaningful. Just use your microphone, use your emote wheel. You will be betrayed sometimes. People will take advantage of your lowered guard for sure. But you'd be surprised that most people are genuinely nice and, quite frankly, worth speaking to. Okay, so now that my little script is done, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sticking through all the way to the end. It really does mean the world to me. And like I said earlier, please, by all means, post your own thoughts and opinions on how you perceive this game yourself. I understand I took some pretty hard stances and might have offended some people, but This is just how I prefer to interact with the game. But everybody's opinion should be valid. So by all means, roast me in the comments. You know, I want engagement with people so I can get more perspective and learn to grow as a person, like we all should be doing. Thank you so much again, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. Take care.